It's 6 o'clock. Thanks for coming. We'll go ahead and get started. Ms. Murdoch, if you would, the roll, please.
Mr. Sousa?
Here.
Mr. Cordray?
Here. If everyone stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will make a motion to approve the Clerk's Journal and accept the audio-video recordings as the official minutes of the February 3rd Board of Trustees regular meeting.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
And I'll make a motion to approve of the bills as presented to the board.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Okay, with that, we do have a speaker to present tonight. A few months back, the board approved an action to engage with Kleiningers to do a park assessment of our park properties in the township, and they are here tonight to present that to us. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me today. My name is Kelly Flaherty. I'm with the Kleiningers Group, and also with me is Lynn Nischwitz. She is the lead of. She leads our landscape architecture department. I'm also a landscape architect, I should say that. And Lynn also lives in Hamilton Township, so she's intimately familiar with all of the parks and your township. So thank you again for having me. And so, yes, as Mr. Sousa announced, we completed the Hamilton Township Parks Assessment at the last half of last year. And so tonight we're going to go through the overview of that assessment process. I will go over the goals that we reviewed as part of that assessment, our approach, each park that we reviewed, our recommendations that we're making to the township, and then as well as a summary of our assessment findings. So we'll review all of the conditions that we found at each park, the immediate concerns that we felt need to be addressed, and the need for a park master plan. So again, as part of that assessment process, we wanted to first assess all existing conditions at each park and identify improvement opportunities where upgrades can be made. We wanted the assessment to act as a guide for the township to support future planning. We wanted to provide cost estimate ranges for each park and throughout the township. We wanted to create a comprehensive overview of the park system as a whole, and then we wanted the township to have a tool to communicate the needs of the parks to the community. So part of the parks assessment, we approached the overall parks assessment by first visiting each park. We looked at the condition of the infrastructure at each park, the variety of amenities that each park had to offer, circulation such as pedestrian and vehicular circulation throughout the parks, and also connectivity to neighboring sites and then all of the parks to each other as well. Next, we provided an analysis of our findings, and we rated the infrastructure and amenities at each park, and you'll see that in the assessment. We wanted to flag the immediate needs at each site and also identify opportunities for improvements at each park. And then lastly, we provided cost estimate ranges for each park by selecting representative items for the park system as the park system wide. And then we sourced multiple quotes from multiple different sources and forecasted potential cost ranges again for each park. So the parks and properties that we reviewed as part of our assessment were Testerman Park, you can see is number 1. That's sort of in the central location in the township. Mounts Park, sort of to the north of the township along the Little Miami Scenic Bikeway and the Little Miami River, as well as Mar Park, again, sort of a centrally located park, which contains soccer fields. And then Bigfoot Dog Park, which is the only dog park in the township. And then lastly, the munitions property, which sits on the northwest side of the township. We wanted to provide recommendations to the township to address the immediate concerns, especially when it relates to anything that could potentially jeopardize the health, safety, and welfare of park visitors. We wanted the township to be able to use opportunity recommendations to define the scope of a potential parks master plan. We also wanted the township to be able to seek partners and funding sources to achieve improvements, and then to develop a parks master plan to direct improvements at each park and across the township. So moving on to our assessment findings. Again, I'm going to go through each park individually. Testerman Park, again, Central Park, it's more of a community space with ball fields, basketball courts, tennis and pickleball court, a loop walking trail, picnic shelters, restroom buildings. We found that there were mixed levels of maintenance at this park, and we'll go through some photos to explain what we mean by that. And that one of the primary concerns was that it lacked vehicular circulation. So these are some inserts from our actual assessment booklet that we provided to the Parks Department. Again, just looking at existing amenities and conditions of each amenity, all the structures, the fields, the courts, things like that, as well as fencing, surfacing, site furnishings, and other typical amenities that you would see in each park. Overall, we found that Testerman Park was in generally good condition. We looked at each amenity individually, such as signs, flagpoles, picnic tables, other site furnishings, as well as the parking lots and paving and pathways that go through the site. We also looked at the architectural structures, such as concessions, gazebo, picnic shelters, and other pergolas and pavilions, and we gave each amenity a rating. We also looked in depth at the sports facilities included at Testerman. So we looked at each individual baseball field and softball field, as well as the basketball court and tennis and pickleball court. And we worked closely with our sports works group at Kleinger's to assist us in evaluating all of those sports amenities. Next, we gave suggestions for opportunities that we felt the park could benefit from, such as restoring the Storybook Trail that you have existing. Some of the signs were broken, so things like repairing some of those amenities, as well as providing additional parking at the park and potentially a loop road to improve vehicular circulation. We also noticed that the playground could benefit from adding more inclusive features to benefit children of all abilities. And then lastly, we provided a cost estimate range. Because we didn't create a specific concept plan for each park, we we recommended improvements that we thought would be for just sustaining the existing condition of the park and also additional improvements. So we had to be sort of broad with our recommendations as far as the cost estimate ranges, again, because we didn't come up with an actual concept plan. But with these ranges, we feel that we provided an accurate estimate for what could be expected for various improvements. Moving on to Mounts Park, it's approximately 223 acres. It contains 2 ponds, walking trails, storybook trail, and it's more of a natural park in your community, more passive recreation. It is adjacent to the Little Miami Scenic Trail, which means there's a high potential for good visibility from the bike trail and also from the river. And so therefore you could draw in many visitors. Again, we took photos of all existing amenities and the conditions of trails, walkways, the gazebo, and other amenities within that park. And again, we rated each of those amenities. One immediate concern that we found Mounts Park could benefit from is the playground surfacing could be upgraded to provide a more inclusive playground experience for children of all abilities. And then we also recommended creating more accessible loop trails, so providing paving that's more accessible to folks in wheelchairs or with other challenges. Pond restoration would be another one of our recommendations to provide opportunities for folks to fish or access the water in various ways. And also, our last recommendation would be to provide an ADA dock and boat launch. Again, to provide an opportunity for people with all abilities and also just anyone wanting to access the water. Again, we provided this cost estimate range. We provided a recommendation for sustaining improvements and additional improvements. So, for example, sustaining improvements would be providing upgrades to the playground surfacing. Again, we feel that would be more of an immediate concern that you would want to address to provide safety for all users. And then additional improvements would be the dock, the storybook trail, loop trail, and other improvements. Moving on to Mar Park, as mentioned, this is primarily contains sports fields. Also included there is a picnic shelter and community garden. We do note that the east half of the pond is undeveloped and that there are potential opportunities to develop those areas in the future. Again, photos and examples of the existing conditions and where we feel that improvements could be made. We noticed that there were several deep drainage channels throughout the park that could be improved for circulation, for pedestrians walking to and from the fields and just across the park in general, as well as parking improvements could be made, such as asphalt paving. Overall, we thought the park was in good condition. Again, some immediate concerns were to improve those drainage channels or provide potentially walkways where people could easily navigate across those to the actual soccer fields. So paved parking is one of our major recommendations, potential shade structures for individual soccer fields, and it was brought to our attention that potentially a cricket field could be a positive benefit for the community. And then lastly, we also recommended potential loop trails to walk around the entire site. That would benefit visitors and also other community members visiting the park. A full restroom station would be a great benefit to families visiting and sports players playing on the fields. And then we also gave another opportunity for a restroom, a porta potty shelter if you were not to build an entire restroom. And again, a cost estimate range with sustaining improvements and additional improvements at the park. Next, we have Bigfoot Dog Park. It lacks dedicated parking, but it is a nice large site with plenty of space for the dogs and visitors to use. It is noted that this site is under a conservation easement with the Archaeological Conservancy, so you are limited as to what can be placed on this site. And we have the explicit exemptions state that the township is allowed to, quote, graze the site, exercise domesticated animals, plant hay on the site, or build fences. So again, you're pretty limited on what can be built on this site according to that easement. And again, we have photos and examples of the conditions of the site as it currently stands. We notice that there's not a lot of shade on the site, so the township could greatly benefit from additional shade, as well as upgrades to the fencing so that animals and visitors aren't injured in any way on the fencing, as well as upgrades and additions to the site furnishings such as benches, trash cans, things like that. Our immediate concern here were some gaps in the fencing and some damage to some of the fences. So again, looking at safety for the dogs and visitors along all the fencing around the property. And then I've already mentioned that site furnishings could be upgraded, shade, and then perhaps adding agility equipment for the dogs to run and play on. And then lastly, we do have that cost range. Sustaining improvements would include fixing the fencing and gates, and then additional improvements would include shade, benches, and agility equipment. Lastly, we have the munitions site. This site is currently just an empty site with a lot of topography. So the grade changes quite significantly from the area near the water treatment site down to the bike trail. So we did explore looking at a possible path that could lead from the top of the site down to the bike trail. We do feel that that would gain significant access for people in the community to and from, as well people using the bike trail to come up into the community. So it could be a really great recreational amenity for that park and for the township wide. Another item to note is that it's a former EPA Superfund site, so there may be certain regulations as to what can happen there in that area. Again, some photos of existing conditions at that site, and then the opportunities that we would recommend, such as a mountain bike trail, a trail connecting the Little Miami Bike Trail up to the park, as well as providing just conservation areas, so providing naturalized areas for the township to enjoy. And then again, we have that cost range estimate. Here, we didn't feel that there were necessarily sustaining improvements that needed to be made. These would all be considered additional improvements since the site isn't necessarily being used as a park today. And then lastly, we looked at just general township-wide connectivity between all the parks, from the bike trail to the parks, and just how, maps and other improvements could be made to connect all parks to the bike trail and other parts of the township. We felt that cohesive signage and site furnishings and other examples of more cohesive branding could really connect all parks together and really provide that a vision for the township. And so lastly, we gave some additional precedence for signage and furnishings that could be used, directional signage, as well as things like bike repair stations and other amenities that, again, the township could have branding opportunities on all of these amenities and really connect all of the parks together. And we did give some cost ranges for each of those amenities. So overall, our recommendation as part of this assessment is to address immediate concerns, especially regards to, again, health, safety, welfare of all of your citizens. Use these opportunities recommendations to define the scope of a park master plan, allow you to seek partners and funding sources to achieve all of these improvements, and then ultimately to develop a parks master plan to direct the improvements at each park and across the township. Are there any questions or feedback?
Thank you. Cole, you have anything?
Nothing to add. I just want to say thank you to you and your team for spending some time in our parks and creating some visionaries for us for the future. It's certainly an eye-opening report, so I think we have a lot to review and consider, and we're looking forward to being intentional with our planning. So thank you.
Darren?
No, I just echo Nicole. Thank you for putting this together, and I think it is eye-opening, and I'm glad now we have some kind of hard, concrete facts of things we probably need to work on and address immediately. Some of the ADA concerns, certainly, things of that nature. So now I'm grateful that we have this, and we can start having those conversations now of what immediately do we need to address, and then kind of like Nicole talked about, we plan for the future, and we kind of have a roadmap in place now.
Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely some things in there I never gave any thought to. Kind of expected that to be the case, but it'll definitely be a good foundational document for us as we get to developing a master plan and thinking long-term and, funding and what that looks like. We've got a ton of park space that's undeveloped and a lot of potential. We need like a really generous benefactor to bequeath us a bunch of money so we could develop it, but that would be awesome. But no, thank you so much. I think your team did a good job, and staff spoke highly of working with you guys.
Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. With that, our next item, I will open the floor to our first public comments at 6:23 p.m. Hey, Brad.
Brad Turner, 1391 Huntwick Lane, Mainville. First, I just want to take a minute and express my thanks to Jeff and Ellen for helping answer some of my lighting district questions. I keep learning about all kinds of things as an HOA board member. So don't know that we have the exact direction yet, but we've got kind of most of the information we need at this point. Just need to put a couple more things together to kind of approach at our next annual meeting. I also appreciate his quick response today to my picture in front of Walgreens with the 7 different signs. We've kind of got the sign pollution already going on. It's not even spring yet. So I appreciate that you're going to pass that along and see what we can do to kind of take care of that. Then I have kind of an unfortunate situation where we have a homeowner in the HOA that has gotten very behind and not keeping up their property, et cetera, and we've got a judgment approved and are moving to a sheriff's sale. And I don't know if it's appropriate to just kind of ask a little bit about what the process and the timeline is. Again, I'm just trying to educate myself as to kind of what happens once it's now turned over to the sheriff as a result of a judgment, and how does that process work and what the timeline is. And if it's not appropriate to discuss here, maybe I can have somebody call me or direct a time when I can call somebody.
Yeah, appreciate the question, Brad. I've not dealt with one yet in Warren County, so between Assistant Chief Short and I, yes, we both have your info, so tomorrow or at the latest Friday, one of us can reach out to you, because we might want to check with, luckily, we've not seen a trend in Hamilton Township for the last several years, but we'll reach out to the sheriff's office, any other kind of auditing or part of the process, and we'll make sure that we get up to speed on what their process. It's usually not as timely as people think, has been my experience, but we'll get from the county that timeline, and either Quill and I will follow up with you.
Okay. Well, maybe if you would wait till next week, I've got some other commitments the next couple of
Okay.
days, so.
We'll
That
do
would
that
be,
then.
that would be plenty early, but I just
Yeah,
kind of wanted to
we'll-
get it out there, because I'm trying to learn about the process, and it seems like it's taken a long time to get to this point. So,
Right.
I don't know, I guess you get older, sometimes it's a little harder to be patient, so.
Fair
thank you.
enough. Yes, we'll get with you next week then.
Okay, and I will probably excuse myself to try to get to Ash Wednesday service, so it's not that you're boring me or anything, but
Thanks, Brad. Have a good night. Anyone else? Any public comments on any agenda or non-agenda items? All right. No one else approaching. We'll close the floor to the first public comments at 6:26 and move to new business. The first item we've got is a resolution. This is around our relationship with the Warren County Drug Task Force. Jeff, you want to just kind of quickly summarize what this one is?
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything significant, but.
Appreciate that. No, it's not real significant in how it will function. There's no greater or less expense for Hamilton Township to be a participant. It's an efficiency move. I think the county auditor was one of the persons recommending it's going to allow for efficiency and some actual cost savings. So it's just moving from council of governments to an MOU situation, but we will function the same within it.
And for anybody not aware, obviously the Warren County Drug Task Force services the whole county, specific to, investigating and enforcing drug laws in the county. Jurisdictions like us will generally contribute $1 per person per year to their budget. They have other funding sources as well. And occasionally, we will also provide an officer from our police department to work on the drug task force as well. I don't know if we're doing that currently. Are we, Q?
Yes, we currently have one officer assigned.
So that definitely benefits us as well. When those people rotate off, they've gained a lot of, significant knowledge around the drug task force stuff specifically that they bring back. But yeah, so this is just kind of an administrative housekeeping item. Like Jeff said, it's not going to change our relationship with the drug task force or services we receive from them in the county. Anything to add, Daryl?
I do not.
All right. That, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 26-0218A, a resolution authorizing participation in the Greater Warren County Drug Task Force and authorizing the township administrator to execute the related memorandum of understanding.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Souza?
Yes. All right, next item we have is also a resolution. This is looking at placing a moratorium in the short term on commercial truck and vehicle parking and initiating a zoning resolution, text amendment to our zoning code related to that as well. Jeff, you want to speak to this one too?
Appreciate that. There's been discussion about this for some time, perhaps during my whole tenure here. I've had concerns from residents. I know the individual board members have had at these meetings or calls, or sometimes it's HOA groups reach out. A few of the concerns is that because of the scale and intensity of our largest operation, and now that we have seen additional operations come, and to try to be clear, this is only about commercial operations. Because of our proximity to I-71, and because a lot of the drivers living in our community, this is for semi-truck and commercial truck parking. We've had concerns over the expense of rehab to our roadways, concerns of the volume and frequency, concerns of some oftentimes in that industry related operations that occur. I think Assistant Chief Shorts has some additional information, but I know that we've all fielded concerns from residents about it. It's one thing if it was very small in nature, but oftentimes we're seeing in the course of a month, I believe well over 1,000 vehicles that they're not tending to one of our businesses. Obviously, Hamilton Township businesses need to be able to receive their goods and delivery of items for commerce, but there's not a return on investment in that the Little Miami or King school districts receive any kind of a tax benefit from these. It seems to be that there's services required, and it's not one of those where sometimes there's industries that are low in the volume of persons that work there, but it's great. There's a domino effect or spin-off industries that are there to support them. But this industry seems to not have some kind of a secondary or tertiary advantage to it. So based on all that feedback and concerns we've been receiving, like I said, maybe Chief Short has a couple of thoughts too beyond what I expressed.
Yeah, we continue to work with the Ohio State Patrol to kind of patrol the area because we've had an increase in complaints of commercial motor vehicle traffic last year. A couple times we worked some designated traffic control with them, and we're able to stop a lot of commercial vehicles that had equipment violations or regulations that were not up to state standards. So we'll continue to try to stop that from occurring on our roads anyway.
And Jeff, just to confirm and for the public record, this doesn't impact the existing facilities in any shape, way, or form, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Staff wanted to stress that. We think this delivers on what the concern, this would satisfy concerns of expansion. It does not close the operations of any existing use. Zoning, vernacular, those become existing non-conforming uses. Additional parcels would not be allowed to see new or expanded use, but it does not impede on current operations of parcels that have a zoning certificate in hand. So these, to this point, have been lawful uses, and the layman's term is oftentimes grandfathered. People like to call those grandfathered uses. The couple or three or four that we see today would be allowed to continue to operate as long as that owner uses like that. We just wouldn't be able to allow an increase in scope. And sometimes with uses like this, because they're not real defined by brick and mortar or even asphalt, we see scope creep occur over the years. So I think this would satisfy it without impacting current uses.
Daryl, any deliberation or anything, comments or anything?
No, I'll just say Mr. Wright, I think really summed up my concerns and the concerns I've heard from residents alike over the last several years once we saw this kind of move in. So I don't think there's really much to add. I think you covered the gamut there, Mr. Wright, on that as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would agree. There was a trucking shortage during the pandemic and COVID, and a couple of property owners here, I mean, rightfully so, capitalized on the opportunity and developed some property to storage facilities, expanded some existing, not in the most convenient of traffic area in the community, but fortunately it does stay on county and state roads for the most part, and not on township roads, but it does create some traffic issues, and as Jeff alluded to, possibly some other related activities that definitely are not good. So I think it's sensible to move in this direction. I mean, we probably have, between the couple prominent facilities, 500, 1,000 spaces or more vehicles probably at any given time.
Yeah, easily. These are large-scale uses.
Yeah.
And I think within that industry, it's well-known. So we see a lot of trucks that aren't making deliveries to or from Hamilton Township, but they're getting off the interstate. They find their way here. And again, there's very little recoupment compared to the type of traffic headaches and other transportation or roadway headaches they cause.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think you summed it up well. It's the small local owner-operator that's got a truck or 2 trucks or 3 trucks that lives in the community and is simply just basically paying a lease to store their cab and their equipment when they're hauling a trailer or whatever. So, all right, with that, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 26-0218B, resolution establishing a moratorium on the issuance of certain zoning permits and other township approvals that would involve or allow the construction, establishment, or expansion of semi-truck or commercial truck parking facilities within Hamilton Township, Warren County, Ohio, waiving the second reading and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Next item, kind of another housekeeping item. It doesn't really have a significant impact to the township and finances are our budget, but this is about a conversion of a small piece of OPERS language that will impact people that retire from the township in their pension amount. You want to summarize this one for us?
Yeah, that's correct. This is something that's commonly done among cities, villages, townships, and counties. We had never addressed it before, but I feel tasked with finding ways that are of de minimis financial impact to the township, but can help us retain the employees we've attracted. And so this is that it would allow an employee in their last year, whatever sick leave, vacation leave in that final year of employment they have earned, if they do not take those days off in that final year, when they are compensated for it, and we have a cap on how much they receive and can carry over, we will be like other communities, and that would be considered part of the pensionable final year salary for those employees. A lot of our neighbors do it, and I think it's better for the board to have the discretion of it instead of it being put into some other form of contract.
Is this something that we'll have to do like annually to reaffirm our commitment in this? Or is this
Yeah, it
something
is.
that's-
Oddly enough, OPERS requires it annually of those communities.
Okay. Questions or comments, Daryl? Good. All right, with that, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 26-0218C, a resolution authorizing the adoption of an annual conversion plan in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 145.01 and Ohio Administrative Code 145-1-26 and dispensing with the second reading.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes. All right, the next one we've got is the standard getting rid of just unfit, unneeded equipment in the police department, and these are just crash vehicles that are totaled that we have in our impound lot that we need to dispose of. Assuming no comments or anything here.
I'm good.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 26-0218D, a resolution authorizing private sale of unneeded and unfit for use property in the police department.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes. All right, and our last one, this was added late, was probably not in the agenda packet that went out several days ago online, but we've added an item around a nuisance property. We've had some individuals dumping some debris behind a commercial property in the township off of 48, and we need this to enable us to start the process that we need if we have to enforce cleanup on this with the property owner. Anything to add to that or anything, Jeff?
No, we've been patient, sent a couple of two notices, but now because it's been exacerbated even last night, we believe, so we'll work with them. I appreciate earlier today, Mr. Sousa, your thoughts about ways of doing it efficiently with little impact. This sounds harsh, but it's the ORC requires us to go through this formality so that we can take final action. If we have any expenses resulting from the cleanup, this will allow us to recoup those expenses from the property owner.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully we get this resolved and not have to go down this path, but I think it's a good idea for us to have this in place if we do need to do so. Any thoughts, questions?
Nope, definitely needs to be cleaned up. That is a
Yeah.
mess.
It's unfortunate that someone just started disposing of trash and construction materials behind a local business, so, but we'll get it remedied.
Do we know, was it necessarily the business owner, or was it somebody that was like
We don't-
basically dumping into?
We think it's illegal dumping from somebody off-site.
Okay, so we don't think it was a bad owner in this case, bad.
We don't think so. We wish they would have been quicker in doing, putting up some cameras, cleaning it up initially, and we'll help them. If they put some items in place to deter it through our means of police and zoning, we'll assist them with that. But the slower they act, then it becomes a magnet. But we don't think they're bad actors directly.
Gotcha.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 26-0218E, providing for and authorizing the removal of garbage, refuse, and other debris at 5765 South State Route 48, parcel 1606425-036 in Hamilton Township, declaring a nuisance and an emergency.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
All right, with that, we're to our motions. Looks like we have a commercial development that's been imminent for a very long time, potentially in the township moving forward, and will require us to have an agreement with the ODOT to accept sidewalk for township maintenance at the conclusion of the project.
Yeah, these are becoming standard now. Since state routes and townships are the jurisdiction of ODOT, ODOT is fine with our zoning requirements to require the developer will have all the expense of installing the sidewalk. ODOT doesn't want to get into a long-term maintenance responsibility for themselves. I don't believe this is going to be expensive for the township. We're not allowed to put street trees between the sidewalk and the state route, and that's typically the biggest culprit of sidewalk upheaval are the trees. So, yeah, there's no way around this. We've tried.
And it's here in writing, and we can publicly state who that developer is of the property.
That's right. Yep, the baby's going to get birthed, Mr. Sousa, if you want to announce it.
Finally, we'll have a Fifth Third Bank location in the community. They owned the corner at 22 and 48 for a long time, and sold that with, and years ago planned to either be in a new Kroger or out in front of a new Kroger, and they're going to be on one of the outlots. I think they're going to be to the south
It's
of.
south of McDonald's.
The
Do you
McDonald's?
believe that's correct? Okay.
So next to McDonald, maybe a Fifth Third Bank coming later this year. Next year, they're just getting started with the county on their zoning processes and permits. Anything to add or anything, Darryl? Nope. All right. That I'll make a motion to authorize an agreement between the State of Ohio Department of Transportation and Hamilton Township to maintain sidewalk section along State Route 48 located within Warren County.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
All right, we are to our HR roster updates. Nothing too significant in here. I did want to congratulate Don and thank staff. We had a little turnover in our mechanic group recently. Talked to Jeff today, said we found a quality candidate. He's actually worked on some of our large apparatus at the vendor that he's at in our fire department, so have a little familiarity, and lives in the township or nearby, I think.
Yeah, at least our school district.
Okay, perfect. That's good stuff. So, Darryl, any questions or anything to add? All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the amendment of the Hamilton Township roster as presented.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
And last is, we have a cemetery deed purchase. Make a motion to approve the purchase of a cemetery deed to Carol Bray.
Second.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Sign that before we forget. With that, we'll open the floor to our second public comment section at 6:43 PM.
Dan Fifth, 10429, I guess I really kind of want to, so you guys are putting an amendment on the zoning, or you guys are proposing, the trustees are proposing amendment to the zoning for commercial truck parking, right?
Yes.
Okay, are you zoning them out completely because you just don't want them? Or are there, in your zoning amendment, is there going to be provisions, if you already own some land that's M1 or M2, is there going to be provisions for the ability to still have it, or you just zoning them out because you just don't want them?
Well, I believe the way we're proceeding today is that any additional that it's an approved use on zoning codes that you mentioned today, it will no longer be an approved use. And I think we've already had a couple individuals talk about developing additional sites for the use. And for me, my opinion, not speaking for the board, but just myself, it's the traffic issues they cause where they are. One's potentially would connect through a residential neighborhood subdivision to get to the state route. I mean, but if we look at the properties that you mentioned and it were to continue, we could have 5,000 semis parked in a community of 30,000 people. And, I think I have to look at it, the way I view this is, if you look at whether it was medical marijuana or it's marijuana or, we had it. I mean, we have them. We're not trying to take any negative action against those that are here. But a point I think we have to protect the integrity of, the community and other areas and streets and things like that as well. And Jeff mentioned we can't get into great detail, but there are some other
Challenges.
law enforcement challenges with the sites that we have currently as well that we don't want to see, multiply throughout the community.
Well, yeah, I was just curious whether your amendment was going to allow it if they fenced or if they blacktopped or so you're just wanting to zone them completely out?
New,
Because you just
yes.
don't like 'em.
Yes. I mean, am I stating that correct?
Yeah,
That's
that's-
an approved use on any zoning where it could go today. After the zoning amendment, it would no longer be an approved use in that zoning code.
Yes, that is correct. So if there were, like Dan mentioned, M1 or M2, but we wouldn't lose a balance since we have hundreds of spaces today with 2 or 3 newer ones. It's not as if persons that have that need in the township couldn't be accommodated. And because we have very limited M1 and M2 property for a community our size, we're unbalanced in that a large part of our industrial zoning today in the last few years has been used for that specific use. And so it's getting harder to have acreage zoned M1 in a practical area. So sometimes when leads come from Ready, Cincinnati, or the state of Ohio, a business looking to relocate to this region, we are really strapped for having industrial zoning in a practical place. But yes, it would not affect any of Mr. Phipp's current operations.
Right, I understand that. But didn't you guys just rezone some M1 land to residential?
And curiously, there was an option, there was real intent for that to become another large gravel commercial truck parking.
I mean, I understand, I get it, I understand 100%, but I'm just curious whether you're gonna try to accommodate them somehow, but basically I get the gist that you just zone them out because you don't like them.
It's not that simple. I think there's there's a lot of reasons, and this has probably been, of all uses in the time I've worked here, I think this is a most specific use. Obviously, I'd love to accommodate every resident's desire for, why don't we have this restaurant, or why do we have that? And it's never that simple. But honestly, of any use that is here, that's the use that I've had residents give me their input on, is their concern that, will it stop? Hey, we now have a couple or more. How many do we, when will there be a finite number? Because we're a community with limited access, unfortunately, it's practical why they've gone where they've gone.
Sure.
They want to be closest to I-71. But that also was the area that we had, expanding that use further, when we've made sure that our law director researched this well, it wouldn't be in the community's best interest. And like Mr. Sousa said, there's some other ancillary items that I don't want to sound judgmental over here tonight, but those are oftentimes associated.
Basically, you would need to rule it out because of health, safety, or welfare for the community.
Yes, sir, as you
Not
know.
just because you don't like it.
That's right.
Right, and I mean,
That's why I'm trying to get you guys
yeah,
to say.
well, to add a little more context, I think you don't like it is, I like McDonald's, but like when the new McDonald's went in, there was plenty of people said, well, why do we need another McDonald's? There's a couple right down the street. So, I mean, I order stuff online, right? During the pandemic, it was accelerated for a lot of people. Trucking blew up and they need a place to park. I appreciate that. But if I try to be sensible and I think about the population of our community, how many are working age and how many may be truckers that are owner operators, we have places to accommodate several hundred of those vehicles in our community, and I'm sure that more than satisfies the demand of those small business owners, in essence, that might live in a subdivision or on a rural piece of property that need a place to park their asset to facilitate their business. So I don't know that saying you don't like it is right. It's just I think we've gotten an adequate amount of it. And you make a good point with the rezoning of the property, but the reality there is if we said no, it was just going to annex because the developer next door was on annex property, annex more property, expose more high-value property in the township to annexation, or potentially become several hundred more parking spots for semis backing up to somebody's backyard. You know,
But
it's,
if you're the owner of the property and you try to market it, are you guys assisting it? Do you guys have somebody that out there trying to market this property, this industrial zone property that no one seems to be interested in?
We do. So a good example would be some of the light industrial zone property on south side of Grandin Road. It's sold last year to some Cincinnati developers, and Ms. Walton and I proposed through this whole process, even before it was sold, we thought it would be one of the few areas we have for multi-tenant prospective light industrial and small business operation. And that's coming to fruition because a group called Hickory Capital out of Cincinnati has a contract to purchase those 11 acres. And in fact, we saw 1 or 2 meetings ago, the board viewed the site plan for that. And so we are going to see 5 or 6, over 2 phases, 5 or 6 new industrial buildings built there. That was a use that we encouraged. In a sense, it's even like an incubator. So our goal that we set a couple of years ago is coming to fruition with the property selling, and then we have the correct broker involved, and we have an end buyer who's going to purchase it and develop those 5 or 6 in spec, and that spec because they'll each be multi-tenant, and that's going to add, I hope, 20 to 30 small new businesses, or the folks that live in Hampton Township, they're an entrepreneur and they want to start it, that's where they will go to locate. So we're really pleased that that vision that the board and staff had a couple of years ago, we're seeing it. I think it was 2 or 3 meetings ago. So
Maybe the first game.
yeah, so I'm sorry to be long-winded, Dan. So to your point, our vision, I think we sold a developer on the vision the township had and worked with them, and we're working with them and the county engineer's office. They're going to have to fund a new public road that they'll construct, and it's going to benefit the public because that'll then connect Grandin Road through this industrial development you and I are talking about, and then through a new residential apartment development, and that'll allow our existing residents to have another alternative for the 48 corridor. So we think this is the right use, the right folks doing it, and so we're happy that in the end we're going to have 11-acre light industrial buildings we've never had here before. And had we not been a participant and active, which was your point, then I don't think it would have happened. So
Yeah, and by day, I underwrite investment real estate loans.
Sure.
Those truck storage places, if I had the property and I was in the situation, I'd have done the same thing. They're probably a cash cow. To your question about them marketing them or selling them, I don't even know that that'd be their intent, right? They've made investments in their property, fencing, gravel, grading, things like that. But when you start doing some math, what those trucks are paying in a monthly lease to be there and scale that, I don't know that they're, more power to them if they want to market it and sell it, but it's probably treating them pretty well financially in its current
If
use.
you're sitting on the property and you have no
Right.
customer that wants to do any kind of light industry.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna limit that guy that owns that property to possibly have to sit on this property and never be able to sell it. We don't, in the past, we haven't had nobody beating on
Yeah.
our doors to bring, matter of
Yeah.
fact, we had manufacturing leave Hamilton Township when Lucas Limatoma left. And we
Well, right. That's the big site was the biggest
exactly.
employer in the community, and I think in the school district.
And you yourself know that we had a plan at one time, and basically you're the one that told me that would not use the infrastructure, it would be basically topical, and would probably not get approved. So, do you remember telling me that?
High level, I vaguely do, yeah.
Okay. I said that a lot, just wanted to know, to clarify some things.
And I forget sometimes Mr. Phipps' deep knowledge of zoning. Most residents in most communities don't understand the zoning code front and backwards
Sure.
like Dan does, so I appreciate it. He's very humble, but he was very coy and the health, safety, welfare is well stated, and that's why Chief Short and I we do have some data on some of the complaints, some of the transient nature, let's call it. And those are often tied to some of the complaints we get. So I appreciate you reminding us that that's the reason we're allowed as a home rule township to do that.
I'll try to trick you up if you let me.
Fair enough.
I'll see you later.
Thanks, Dan.
Good evening. Is this on?
Yeah, no, you're good. Dan.
My name's Joe Geraci. I'm at 6028 Enterprise Drive. I'm one of those evil truck and storage people. I have been running and operating businesses here in Hamilton Township for 35 years. I've lived in Hamilton Township for 25 years. I have served on both the Hamilton Township BZA and the Hamilton Township Zoning Board. I've had a long-term partnership with Hamilton Township, and we purchased 6028 Enterprise Drive 30 years ago, and we developed the property up there. We've worked with Hamilton Township to install Enterprise Drive and Ventura Way under a 20-year repayment agreement, a TIP program, which we have about another year and a half, 2 years, and we'll finally be done with that. We've invested millions relying on that partnership and are still within that repayment period, like I said. The economic impact on Hamilton Township, we have 10 tenant businesses leasing warehouses and office space. Our general contracting and excavation company operates on the site. King's Premier RV Storage with approximately 500 boats and RVs. We have approximately 60 semi-trucks currently stored. We've developed and sold sites for Elite Automotives, Antenna Gear, and Season's Best Landscaping. We have an additional commercial center scheduled to break ground in 2027. Design activity is currently underway. I also am working with the property owners to the east of us on their property, which we would enter into that property from the circle on Ventura Way. And I guess what I'm trying to find out tonight is what is going to be my new stipulations for developing that property. Am I not going to be allowed to have any semis over there? Or do I have to put buildings up, which I plan to do anyway, but is there going to be a limit to the square footage of the size of the warehouses that I'm putting up to tell me how many semis I'm going to have there, that I'm going to be allowed to have there? Because this is just going to be another hurdle I've got to get over.
Are you referring to acquiring neighboring property that, just could you give a little more context to what you're referring
Yes,
to? And if you are, would it need to be rezoned from a current use to accommodate what you're describing?
No, it's zoned the same as our property is now. It's the horse farm that's to the east of us. It's a Reeder property. And I've been working with that family for a while. So I guess what's going to be my new hurdles that I have to get over?
So Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what you summarized, your activities, the lands you developed, and everything that's going on your properties, or you're mentioning like warehouse space, the only thing that goes on at your, think of it as conglomerate of sites and opportunities, is the truck storage. You know, boat, RV storage wouldn't be limited. You sold some parcels like you said have been developed by local small businesses, contractors, landscapers. You're mentioning warehouse space.
Right.
Someone that's got a warehouse and they have their trucks that they operate in their business or whatever, not going to be an issue. This action is specifically around the sole storage of the large commercial vehicles.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand what the problems are in the township, because it started when the property across the street was sold. And I have been asked by the people over there to help them get straightened up over there. In fact, I'm meeting with Kathy tomorrow, because they already have their zoning permit for a new section to go in. There is a huge demand for this type of product. And I understand that this group up here wants to protect the property values and protect the community. But I think it's very vague. When is there going to be more information? Is it going to be developed?
Well, I think, to correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wright, and it is basically right now there's going to be a 6-month moratorium on any expansion of semi-truck or commercial truck parking. So any expansions as of when we pass the resolution this evening, there's no more ability to expand that any further. Then we will go through that process over the next 6 months to flush that all out with doing the text amendment process. And then once we have that, then that will come before the board, and either we will vote for that text amendment, or we will not vote it down, or it'll pass or not pass. And if the moratorium goes away, then we're back to where we were before we passed this resolution, or that text amendment passes, and then all the information's out there, what exactly those rules or regulations will be.
Okay. Because we've had very little problems with the truckers over on our property, but you do have to babysit them a lot. And I know there's been a lot of problems across the street, and I think that that'll get straightened up. The people that are over there that own the property now, they like what they see across the street, and they want to do the same over there. So I think that that will help. I think some landscaping across the front of the property, this is what I'm going to go over with Kathy tomorrow, would help that site also, because when we develop our road frontage, we're going to do mounding in the front and pine trees to help hide everything that's back there. Because I realize we are in the middle of a lot of bedroom communities, but we were there before the bedroom communities were there.
Yeah, and I remember years ago, your neighbors behind you, you were expanding the boat and RV storage.
right.
And I mean, if you do, let's say you acquire more property to the east that you're referring to. We expect, I mean, that area is a business corridor primarily. You're getting close. I think the people behind you would love to do some mounding or vegetation, but I wouldn't expect you or encourage you to on the frontage on Grandin, because you're going to have businesses across from you for the most part. There's a couple homes in that area, but it's largely a business area.
Yeah, but you have the 50-foot setback that you have to abide by, so you might as well do mounding in there. And you have all this topsoil that you need to get rid of all the time. So instead of making the business owners put trees in the middle of their development that's going to get run over, destroyed, tore up when there's snow, why not take that and move it to the front, and eventually you'll have a mound and 30-foot high pine trees to hide everything.
Right.
So that they don't feel like they're driving through a storage or a commercial park.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that it's not appreciated, this improve the aesthetics, the area or development like that are in a high traffic, high visibility area. And I think, without beating the bush, or beating the dead horse, it's the issues with the trucking aren't so much, I think, the aesthetics of it are an issue, but,
volume.
Just the volume, 48 gets widened. You're talking a $15-20 million investment just on that small stretch, let alone what's to come in another phase, a bridge, Grandin Road repaved, and the truck traffic, and that's not to mention the other activities that we know are going on there that are just unsavory, And I hear you, there's a tremendous demand, but I think about, too, balancing the demand for our community that I represent versus, do I want Hamilton Township to be satisfying demand for truckers in Mason or Deerfield Township or, Turtle Creek Township or Union Township, but I appreciate the fact that you're a small business owner and linked to the relationship and want you to continue to do more development on your property and acquire development more, but we just don't want to see hundreds more. And I think part of it, if I'm not mistaken, your site, you're storing it, but it appears visually to be a lot of like new inventory that's probably overflow for maybe a dealer or something. A lot of the stuff that looks like on your, that it's like new stock.
We had a dealer there, and
for a while.
It only lasted 6 months.
Okay.
It just did not work.
Yeah.
They didn't have it staffed correctly. But the demand for the RV boats and semis is through the roof.
Yeah.
We literally don't have enough room. And all the RVs and boats are within a 20-mile radius. For the most part, 75% of them are a 20-mile radius. So there's a huge demand for that.
Yeah.
And we take a lot of pride in our property and try to keep it looking like a golf course. But the property across the street has been an eyesore and an issue.
And I would, if it puts you at ease at all too, the complaints that, I live not far from you. I'm down in Miami Bluffs. I've never gotten one complaint about your property. People
Well, that's
ask me
good.
questions, what's going to go, I think we've discussed through the years, I think at the time there was maybe someone was going to buy one of the parcels on Venture Way and put a structure in,
Well-
but I've never had a complaint about your property. The complaint with the trucks is largely other things going on in the traffic impact.
Well, the lot that is on the corner of Ventura Way, the southeast corner, that's all semis there now, that was one of our customers' pieces of property, and there is a building scheduled
Yeah.
to go up on the north side of that property.
That's probably what I'm remembering.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
But no, I frequent Elite Automotive, and, and Gear has got a few employees in there, and, I want to see you continue to develop parcels and, benefit from selling off real estate and bringing businesses to the community.
Okay, well, I would be more than happy to work with the township on putting something together to set up regulations and to work, but I think it needs to be defined more.
Yeah. And I'm happy to Kathy, Jeff, whoever, as we work through these amendments and what we're looking at, if you want to be part of that process and communicate with her, you, Dan, whoever, if anyone else that your neighbors, probably going to have an interest as well. But yeah, more than happy to accommodate you being part of that and being informed of what's going on.
All right, well, I didn't find out about this till last night, so I prepped as quickly as I could. I appreciate
problem.
your time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Tracy.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comments? All right, we'll close the floor to public comment at 7:06 PM. And with that, Ms. Elliott, you have the fiscal officer's report?
I do. So I just want to go through quickly on the January numbers. I know they're not always as telling as the December numbers because it's so early in the year, but we can still go through them. We're 8% through the year as of January 31st. Our revenue against our budget is showing at 6%, and our expenditures against our budget is showing at 11%. So both of those are pretty much right on track with where they should be. Since the January numbers aren't super telling, one of the things I thought I could go through is if you look at the unencumbered fund balance, there's a number of them that go negative in January, so I thought maybe I could just talk through why. Because I remember when I first started in this position, it was quite confusing to me. So just to remind everybody, when we talk about encumbrance, that is where you specifically tie funds to a commitment, and that's typically going to be a purchase order or like a signed contract. So in January, we issue a lot of those POs that are for the whole year. So that is part of the reason that we see a negative fund balance in this column. And then the other half of the reasoning is our tax settlements. Our levies and our property tax settlements don't come until spring and fall. So you'll see as we progress through the year that those negative fund balances will reverse themselves. So just thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of run through what that is and why those behave the way they do. That's it for January.
Questions and comments?
Appreciate it. Yeah, good report.
Thank you, Leah. That's
Not much fun in January.
good item to point out between the normal balance and the unencumbered balance. All right, Jeff, you have an administrator's report?
Yeah, we have a few items from each department. From development, we saw steel begin to go up a week or so ago at the Aldi site, so they're still on track to open up this year. Within our fire and EMS, some things reported is that the new ambulance, which is Medic 76, it's now fully in service here. Safety vehicles is the one trade that for the last 5 or 6 years, the supply chain has never recovered. We're now seeing a 2-year timeline from the time you commit to your order, make a down payment, until the time you receive it fully outfitted, 2 years. With the recent retirement we had in our final 3 part-time firefighters are all at other departments with full-time jobs. That leaves us with 2 vacancies netting from that. And so we opened it up to the outside to fill those 2 full-time positions. And Chief Jewett told me this morning that we've received over 40 applications. So that's a really positive trend that we're seeing. Mentioned to a few of you that Nicole submitted the grant application yesterday was the deadline. for the biannual Ohio capital bill. Every 2 years, school districts, nonprofits, local governments are allowed to put in for a few pretty specific, it's very narrow how you can use the funds, but improvements and new amenities within township parks is one of the eligible categories. So Nicole finished yesterday a application seeking money. It's nice we'd already be able to put to use the park assessment plan that Kleiner's presented to you tonight. This would be for a new trailhead parking and connectivity in the northeast corner of Bounce Park. That's adjacent to the Little Miami Bike Trail. And because we see hundreds of visitors a day, we think we'd be able to pull in awareness and some visits from trail users, but also would be a use that our residents could enjoy when visiting the park or wanting to have a safe place to park their car to get on the trail. We'll find out. It's several tier, very competitive. We have a small amount of matching funds we put in to make ourselves competitive, but I'm really hopeful, and she's done great work on that. Also, tree clearing has started at Mounts Park as part of the work area for that stream stabilization project. So trees being removed right now, being done at the correct time of the year. No Indiana bats are going to be harmed under Nicole's watch. And so that's the first phase of that 6-month project. Last week, we did receive the replacement dump truck within the Public Works Department. That's going to help the efficiency during our snow operations, to have an additional reliable piece of equipment. And from the PD, having outgrown the space of this is a 25-year-old building. In fact, I think Mr. Dracy was a general contractor on it. We've outgrown that space because our community has more than doubled in population, and the needs they have for our police department have more than doubled. We did some minor reconfiguring of the space again. And so the Detectives Division recently moved into the space that was used for briefings. So PD administration is doing their best to maximize it. And so it's a constant effort to be able to accommodate everything that we need. And on our March 4th agenda, the next meeting we have, we're going to have the official swearing-in ceremony for our 3 replacement new officers. And we're going to have the promotion ceremony for Sergeant Elsie. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We have a work session item to discuss our 4th of July Freedom Parade and some options and maybe changing the timing or scale of that due to our 250th birthday anniversary this year.
Yes, so the board had expressed interest in expanding the event to commemorate that event. So I put together some options for you to review with estimated cost associated with each option. So the goal tonight is to provide direction on a date and an estimated budget that you are comfortable with to commemorate the celebration. So if the board is interested in shifting to a nighttime event, traditionally we've done a daytime event, morning into the early afternoon on July the 4th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you do want to shift into a nighttime event to include fireworks, my recommendation is to move the event to a Saturday in late June from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I suggest this for a few reasons. So we have some staff fatigue with everybody working the holiday, especially with added overtime and logistics to pull off an expanded event such as this. It would be extensive to do so, and people enjoy having the holiday off. We do believe that there will be stronger participation and availability, and that goes for parade participation, increased volunteerism, we're hoping, and better vendor availability. And then the third would be less competition. In the vicinity, multiple jurisdictions hold similar events to this, and we don't want to compete with a downtown Loveland that's a city and has much larger funds and sponsors and such than we have. So we want to put our best foot forward for our community, and we're just looking for direction where you would like to go.
You want to open up?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about the proposal that Ms. Early and Mr. Wright and the staff worked on. I appreciate time and looking into this. I know I think we kind of threw the grenade out there a few weeks ago and said, hey, we know July 4th is coming up. What do you guys think about this? And let some good discussion. I think I can speak for Mr. Rossi in this case, because I think we've talked about this vision before. Is I know we visioned we wanted to have a township event, like a festival, to really be a signature event, kind of almost somewhat, I'd say, an over-the-top event that really could be ours to own. And I think what you're proposing of moving to a Saturday is, I think, what we envisioned. As far as having that evening event where it's a festival atmosphere where we see families from the township and even neighboring areas coming to Hamilton Township to celebrate, to enjoy that time. I mean, I can remember when I first moved up here, I think it was the last year, the Berry Festival, and I mean, they brought in the lights, the rides and everything. And I think that's kind of what I envisioned at one point, is to have that kind of event here in Hamilton Township. And I think what better way than to have our Freedom Festival, Freedom Parade, and doing that and kind of owning the weekend before, the Saturday before July 4th, is that's our weekend when we celebrate. And then that allows everybody, staff, family, residents, to use July 4th, whether they want to go to a neighboring community that does their thing. I can think of a couple within the area that kind of own their piece, or just want to spend that time with the family. So yeah, I'm all for it. And I like your proposal with regards to getting a band, like a tribute band or something, something like that this year, especially just to celebrate, since it is America 250. I think we do want to kind of put a little bit more of a emphasis on it, and appreciate Mr. Ozzie again, as long as the schedule works out, of donating the fireworks to the township. I think that'd be a great touch, but I think I'm definitely 100% all for that direction.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we talked about on the phone today, you do something like this, and with the major kind of change the timing, a little bit of the scale, do it for the 250th, and does it stick? Do people like it or whatever? So one thing I thought of since we spoke earlier, there maybe be a way for us to maybe get just a little community engagement on the idea. Float a survey on social media or something. I love the ideas and all the reasons behind doing it away from the peak holiday for all the logistical reasons that you stated. And I like the idea of it being, I attended the Berry Festival, and I think it's a no-brainer. It's just, I wonder if it's worth getting a little input to not make an assumption for, maybe people like it in the middle of the day, because then they go, do whatever they want in the evening or whatever. But maybe if we're doing it not on the holiday, that's not an issue. Just a thought I had, if we try to get a little.
I would worry, especially that we're getting close to, because it is America 250, that we're gonna, if we put this out too much, that we would that we would lose out. Now, I'd be all in favor if we want to maybe circle back afterwards, and then we can evaluate and go, does this make sense?
Maybe that's just the way to debrief after doing it once, to see what the feedback from people is. I think it'll go over well with what you're talking about, and it's certainly, I know the challenge you've had trying to get volunteers, and you're trying to get people to volunteer on the 4th of July in the morning. In the afternoon for a parade's tough enough. Trying to get people to volunteer on the 4th of July evening would be impossible.
And you're trying to get dignitaries within the county to come to these things. And on the 4th of July, there's 3 or 4 different ones. There's been ours, the city of Franklin. So I think if we pick the weekend like 27th, or the weekend like the Saturday before, I think we would even see more participation with all of our county partners. This type of event.
You mentioned already, Doug's here in the audience, but you work with Allison on this with the village, and they partner with us in this. So we were kind of figuring out where our heads were internally, then reach out to you guys and engage with. Obviously, it's a joint thing, but I think it totally makes sense to make it a little, more significant event for what's occurring this year. Then we figure it out moving forward.
Okay.
But so we think we have consensus looking to do it.
I think
weekend evening prior to the 4th.
I think the Saturday prior to.
Yeah.
27th.
I believe so.
June.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You got everything you need budget-wise and everything? You're kind of.
Yeah, that's perfect direction.
Okay.
Yeah, we can come back if we need to with the reappropriation after we get with partners and figure it out in more detail or whatever. I know you'll do your best to keep it a modest event.
I am very budget conscious.
Let's have fun. Celebrate America 250. Let's go.
All right, with that, last thing before an executive session, trustee comments, Daryl?
Thank you, Mr. Sousa. Yeah, just a couple quick things. trying to think now, timing wise, this was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Was it that long ago, Chief Joy? You had the push in there?
February 7th.
I mean, it seems like time is flying this month. No, it's just, I just want to say great event. It was really cool. I think it's one of those things, bringing back tradition like that's always awesome. We had a great turnout. I know the mayor, Mark Messer of Lebanon, was able to attend as well. But just to go out there and just to kind of see something like I never even knew that was a thing, but go out there, and it was actually, I was pleasantly surprised at the attendance. We had a lot of people out, and Mr. Sousa, you were there as well, so love seeing that we're doing stuff like that, and hopefully we keep on doing that throughout all of our departments and here in the township, because I think it was a really cool idea, way to bring people together. Briefly, just went up to the Ohio Township Association conference last week. Good conference, definitely a lot of interesting topics. I think no surprise the big topic was property taxes, and specifically how that affects townships. Just to remind everybody, because this is going to be a big topic going forward, is, townships, while the big talk is property taxes, really townships, we only collect as a whole, your property taxes, it's only about 15 to 18% of your property taxes come to the township. The overwhelming chunk is paid to the schools, and then there's some to the county as well, but just want to make mention of that as we go forward and start having those discussions, and certainly, we're always looking for ways to save and stretch that tax dollar, but I know over the last couple of years, we've seen that explosion of property taxes, all of us here in the township, but, just keep that in mind as we have that all of our services are paid for right now the way the ORC is written through property taxes here in the township. And then just want to make mention too, just was honored to, I was elected to the Clout Board, Executive Board, which is basically the association for large townships here in the state of Ohio, and I'll be one of 4 representatives for Southwest Ohio for, believe it's a 4-year, is it a 4-year term?
Yep.
Yeah, 4 years.
It's a long sentence, sir.
4-year term. So I was elected to a 4-year term, replacing Barry Tiffany, who has served admirably for on that for Southwest Ohio, and he decided to give up the position. I think he was for a number of years. So excited to be a part of that. And that's really all I had.
Yeah, no, I would just echo Daryl's comments. I was surprised to see the people that came out at the at Station 76 it was unique for us, the timing of putting 3 new pieces of equipment in, and one of them being the ladder, a lot of years of planning and waiting for, and just love the graphic scheme, the black. I shared some pictures and sent some pictures. I have a buddy at Ford, our medic, being a Ford, and everyone thinks they look awesome. So that was good stuff. And then it was warm out there today. Spring's around the corner. The snow's gone, so hopefully a little more warm weather will get the ground dried out, and we won't get too many more cold spells. But I'm sure we'll have another cold snap or 2 before we officially get to spring. But with that, and I will preface, we don't expect any action coming out of this executive session. You're more than welcome to stay if you want, but probably won't gain anything afterwards. Make a motion to adjourn into executive session at 7:23 p.m. in accordance with ORC 121.22, Section G, subsection 1, to discuss the employment of a public employee.
Second.
Mr. Cordray?
Yes.
Mr. Sousa?
Yes.